I think just the idea of a woman is so inspiring. I think thinking about women is so inspiring. I love the mystery of a woman. I just love them so much.
It has been frequently argued that the films of David Lynch can be categorized under the neo-noir genre of filmmaking, with his morally ambiguous crime narratives that frequently deviate from the Hollywood pattern of coherent narrative. It follows that Lynch's female characters are often read through the familiar neo-noir frameworks, particularly as various versions of the contemporary Femme Fatale. The Femme Fatale is typically categorized as mysterious, seductive, and dangerous. Her contribution to the plot relies on drawing the protagonist into compromising or destructive situations. As Frida Beckman puts it, she represents an enigmatic relation between visibility and truth. She's highly visible, yet never quite what she seems to be. Her place in the center of desire and danger often positions her as a source of disruption within the narrative. Despite this apparent power, she is less a fully realized subject and more a symbol of the danger of sexual difference. As a result, her narrative often culminates in her eradication. For a woman with such power is almost always punished for the threat that she poses to masculinity and male control. The phrase femme fatale directly translates from French to deadly woman. While she is often depicted as dangerous to the men around her, David Lynch pushes this idea further through his figure of the beautiful dead girl. The femme fatale derives her agency not just from her sexuality, something Audre Lorde describes as a source of power, but also from the knowledge she holds. The beautiful dead girl, on the other hand, dies along with that knowledge. But that's all she's good for, right?
Wrong. Enter Laura Palmer, Lynch's quintessential woman. Laura is first introduced to us as an unidentified body washed ashore.
Good Lord, Laura. Laura Palmer.
The mystery of her murder becomes the catalyst for the investigation that is the center of the plot. Her appearances within the show itself are minimal, often limited to old photographs, home videos, and fragments of dreams. Despite being essential to the story, she exists, at first, as a passive, beautiful dead girl. But this position begins to shift in the prequel film Twin Peaks. Here, the mask begins to fall. Laura is no longer just the subject of investigation. She becomes the protagonist. The film abandons the perspective of male investigation and instead immerses us in her experiences, following her psychological and spiritual descent in the time leading up to her death. What Lynch is doing here is using familiar noir archetypes as a kind of mask. His female characters are introduced through recognizable roles, the femme fatale, the beautiful dead girl, but as the narrative unfolds, those identities begin to fall apart. Laura's new position as both protagonist and a kind of fractured femme fatale makes her death particularly significant. As previously mentioned, in traditional noir, the femme fatale must be punished. Her death restores moral order, resolving the threat she poses to patriarchal control. But Twin Peaks refuses that resolution. Laura's death doesn't restore moral order. It exposes the absence of it. Instead of closure, we are left with something far more unsettling. The realization that the danger was never contained within her, but embedded in the world around her, and the people closest to her. She is no longer just a symbol or a narrative device. She's a teenage girl, complex, confusing, and painfully human. Rather than simply complicating these archetypes, Lynch pushes them to a breaking point. His female characters become too complex to be contained within them at all, giving rise to what we might call the Lynchian Woman. This isn't unique to Laura Palmer. In Mulholland Drive, Camilla appears to occupy the role of the femme fatale, but only within a constructed fantasy. In her case, a fantasy created by the protagonist. In reality, she becomes something closer to a dead girl haunting the narrative, revealing how these identities can be performed and ultimately undone. In this way, Lynch doesn't just use noir conventions, he explores their limitations. The femme fatale and the beautiful dead girl are not fixed identities, but masks, placed onto women who are always more complex than the narrative allows.
Your Lorde disappeared.
And maybe that's the point. Not to try to force these women to fit the archetype, but to show that they were never really meant to.